Welcome everyone to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the new horror comedy, The Monkey, which is based on a 1980 short story by the great Stephen King. This film is an adaptation of that short story, written and directed by Osgood Perkins, and it stars Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, and Rohan Campbell. This film follows twin brothers whose lives are turned upside down by a cursed toy monkey that causes random, horrifying deaths. This film was highly anticipated. I was super excited coming off the heels of LongLegs from last year, which was written and directed by Osgood Perkins, and I was intrigued to see how he was going to approach a Stephen King story here. Going off of the marketing material, it looked like it was going to have that dark tone that we saw in LongLegs, yet have a twisted sense of humor that LongLegs didn't possess at all. LongLegs was very stoic. It was a straightforward film, but this film promised more comedy, and I'm here for that. I love a good horror comedy, and that's a different approach when we look at Stephen King adaptations in the past, trying to take it too serious and now kind of poke fun at yourself here. That was a different approach that I was looking forward to. uh it, Stephen King adaptations in the past. You think back through the annals of history, all of the Stephen King films that came to be, adaptations from his works, they haven't been real good. You can probably count on, I'm gonna say, two hands. And there's a lot of Stephen King adaptations. So two hands is not a lot. I don't think you get a full two hands of good Stephen King adaptations. Very few and far between. And so, looking at it out of that lens, it's not surprising that the monkey just didn't land. It wasn't good. To put it plainly, this was not good. This movie relied heavily on gore, on the quote unquote shock kills, which nothing was shocking about it because most of the kills you saw in the trailers. You didn't see the full outcome of the kills, and all of his bloody gory, but you knew what was happening in the trailer. And that's not to say that the trailer ruined it. I don't think it still would have helped this film, not going into it blind. This movie was a bad Final Destination adaptation. This, or installment in that franchise. This was just a bad version of Final Destination, in my humble opinion. The kills were so outlandish. I mean, just over the top. Every kill, nothing, and they classified, in the movie, the authorities classified them as random, but nothing was random about these about these killings, or these deaths, I should say, because it wasn't technically a murder or killings. It was just these random events, and they were so far fetched, out of the realm of possibility. They just found different ways to kill people, and that was pretty much the selling point on this movie. Let's find a new way to kill this person. Oh, let's do it like this. Let's use a harpoon that retracts. Okay, let's use let's use a for sale sign in your front yard to decapitate somebody. All right, let's do that. It was just random stuff, and it could have worked if the story was tight, and there was no tight story here. Osgood Perkins, who, in case you don't know, he's the son of Anthony Perkins. And if you don't know who Anthony Perkins is, he's Norman. He's Norman Bates. Yes, from Psycho, the actor who portrayed Norman Bates. This is his son, who is, I guess, carrying on the mantle in the horror genre. And Longlegs was such a good film, such a good film. Yeah, it had its problems, but I thought it was a breath of fresh air in the horror genre. I don't know what was going on in this movie. I don't. This was just bad all around. The writing was bad. The comedy didn't land. I didn't laugh but one time in this entire film. Once, and it was the very last shot of the movie. I'm not going to spoil it, in case you want to go see it. But whenever you see it, or if you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It was the very last shot of the movie. I laughed. I mean, just outburst. It was like a hearty laugh, stomach laugh. And I'm like, man, why the rest of the movie couldn't be like that? Why they wait to the very end to make me laugh? Because nothing else in this film was funny, even though it was trying to be. And that was one of the reasons why it wasn't. It was trying to be funny instead of organically being funny. And uh, it didn't land. The dialogue was bad. The story was just clunky. Uh, the one thing to go to this movie for is Theo James, the lead here. He's playing dual roles here as identical twin brothers. He did an excellent job. I enjoyed him in this film. He was unintentionally funny, you know, in between the lines, and the little moments in between where it was his facial expressions or his reactions to what's going on. That was kind of humorous, but it took too long to get to him for one, because we had to get the origin story, which was fun. And to be honest with you, the first 15 minutes of the film was interesting. It had me kind of hooked in. I was like, okay, I like where this is heading. It can only get better from here. That's what my mind was. It wasn't horrible. I was willing to tolerate it. But after that, after the opening act, I would say the whole first act of the film, it just went downhill from there. And once we get that flash forward into time where we are in present time, I suppose, it really just went off the rails. That's when all of the randomness started taking place, all of these just deaths just popping up all over the place. In this one specific town, it was like 3 to 4 deaths a day, just crazy random deaths a day. And the locals are like, oh, it happens. It was just silly. And it got so ridiculous that we didn't even see all this. We're being told this. That's how unaspiring this screenplay was. It it was just a waste of time, and it just felt like a waste of time. Then we get to the end of the movie, to the final climax of the movie. Something happened in the final climax involving this toy monkey that was really interesting. That was really cool, but it was never explained. It was never set up. It just happened, and that was it. That was it. you know, they didn't address it. It wasn't any dread over it. It wasn't any panic over it. It was like, okay, well, it's the monkey, and everybody went off about their day. It was a extinction level event that took place, and nobody blinked. It was like, well, the monkey do what the monkey do. It was so passe, and I'm like, no, man, we need to address this. But no, it was nothing addressed. It was just, I don't know. This was very frustrating. I was so disappointed with this film. I had some high hopes about this movie. I wasn't expecting the greatest horror film of all time, but I was expecting, you know, a, a 90-minute turn your brain off horror film. Uh, that's easy. Well, I say easy, but you know what I'm saying. That's that pops up all the time. We just saw one in Heart Eyes, just a random little horror film, and it was good. You know, it wasn't great by no stretch of the imagination, but it was entertaining. This movie failed to entertain, it failed to inspire, it failed to even, you know, gross you out or scare you or even creep you out. The monkey is creepy looking, but other than that, there's nothing about this that screams horror. This just it was just random deaths happening all around, and voila, that's the movie. You seen the trailer, you seen the movie, you know what it is. But yeah, this was not a good showing from Osgood Perkins and James Wan. James Wan produced this movie. James Wan, the great, the horror icon, James Wan. You had Stephen King, James Wan, and Osgood Perkins coming together to make a movie, and splat, splat. It was horrible, man. I can't begin to express my feelings. It's hard to put them in words, really. I'm just very disappointed with this movie, but I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. I still have a lot of hope in Osgood Perkins because I think he's a fairly good director. LongLegs was a really good film. You can't just luck up and make a movie of that quality. There's some talent involved in making a film like that. And so I'm not going to throw him out with the bathwater because this movie didn't land. I'm just hoping and praying that his next go around, his next film can bounce back from this. But in the meantime, The Monkey, which is currently in theaters, gets a letter grade of a D plus. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It hurt my heart. Then this movie really hurt my heart, boy. I had a lot of high hopes for it. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I put too much expectation on this film. I don't know. But regardless, it it was a poo fest. But I would love to know, what did you think of The Monkey? Did you go check it out, or are you waiting around to see it pop up on streaming somewhere in a couple of weeks or whatever? Because I can pretty much guarantee it'll be on demand in a few weeks. This was it'll probably play better then. If I watch it again once it comes on one of these streaming services or something later on this year, I will probably appreciate it more. But this did not belong in the theater. Nah. But I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Don't forget, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of The Monkey. I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.